Hello everyone, welcome back to the English class. In this session, we are going to discuss a very important tense. It is past continuous. In most of the competitive exams and also in general in English language, tenses plays a very crucial role. And among tenses, this is a very important tense. Past continuous. Already we have been discussing various types of tenses. Past continuous plays a very crucial role in English language. So listen to the session very carefully and try to understand the usage of each and every tense properly and perfectly. Let's have a look at this past continuous. So what is past continuous? If you look at it carefully, it sounds very interesting. You are already talking about past tense and you are using the word continuous. So you are talking about past tense and you are also talking about continuous. That is why we use this name past continuous where the action was in progress. See, action was in progress in the past. So when we talk about this action called past continuous, it means the action was in progress in the past. You understand? See, for example, when we talk about present continuous, it means right now the action is in progress. When we talk about present continuous, it means right now the action is in progress. But when we talk about past continuous, it means in the past the action was in progress. So generally to define this and to describe this, we use something like we use past continuous to talk about an action which was in progress in the past at a particular point. You understand? So when we talk about a particular point in the past, then you are actually using past continuous. However, if you don't understand this, don't worry, we will understand it better only when we practice wonderful examples. So try to understand it, but the examples will give you 100% clarity. So if you look at this, definition is clear. In past continuous, you're talking about an action which is completed in the past. But in the past, at a particular point of time, you're actually saying the action was in progress. Now, whenever we talk about past continuous like this, understand the grammar properly. Subject follows was or were. You see, it all depends. Sometimes we use the subject was, sometimes we use the subject were. So, subject plus was or were. Now, whenever was or were comes, verb should be naturally in the ing form. Verb should be naturally in the ing form, followed by the object. Followed by the object. I hope the point is clear. So, we use this tense called past continuous when we talk about subject followed by was or were. And the verb is in the ing form. But to understand it in a better way, I'll give you one example. See, she was going shopping. If you see this example, the tense is already in past tense. If you see this, the tense is already in past tense. But we use ing form because in the past, at a particular point, she was actually doing some action. That is, she was going. Similarly, when we talk about an action like they were going shopping, this also we use something like they and we use were. And again we use going. If you observe here, she is taking was and they takes were. That is natural. So now to understand this tense in a much better way and more easy way, we will do some wonderful practices. We will do some wonderful exercises as well. Whenever we talk about past continuous, like I have said, you are talking about an action which was in progress in the past. That is the reason the name is given past continuous. So let us now take a beautiful example. But like I have said, before we take an example, we have to always make sure the grammar is properly used. So the grammar is like was or were plus ing. The grammar is always like was or were plus ing. Okay, the grammar is always like was or were plus ing. Now I'll take a beautiful example. Listen to the example very carefully. So the example is this: Anil was sleeping. If you take this example, Anil was sleeping, it means in the past he was actually doing this action called sleeping. However, to bring more sense, to bring more clarity to this sentence, what we usually do is we actually try to combine the past continuous with another tense called past simple. Hope you understand. So to understand it much better, what I'll do is see Anil was sleeping today. Anil was sleeping today at 4 a.m. So now this is what we call like a point of time in the past where Anil was doing certain action. However, this time what I'll do is I'll try to add simple past to past continuous. Do you want to see this? Chalo. See this. Tom was shouting. Tom was shouting. Tom was shouting at his brother. Tom was shouting at his brother when I called him. So, if you see this example very keenly and very carefully, it looks very interesting because Tom was shouting at his brother is actually in past simple, past continuous, correct? So Tom was shouting at his brother is actually past continuous. Now if you see this expression, I called him. If you see this expression, I called him is past simple. Hope you understood this. So Tom was shouting at his brother when I called him. Tom was shouting at his brother when I called him. This is how it looks. This is how it looks. Tom was shouting at his brother when I called him. So here, the wonderful thing is this particular tense is in past continuous. And if you observe here, this particular tense is in past simple. See, this particular tense is in past simple and this particular tense is in past continuous. I'll give you now one more example. Listen to the example carefully and try to understand the beauty of past continuous. See, for example, there is a sentence something like this. You called me. You called me when I was driving. So, if you take this example into consideration, it looks very interesting. You called me when I was driving is a sentence here. So, you called me when I was driving is where? When I was driving. See, I was driving is a beautiful tense which is in past continuous. See, I was driving is a beautiful tense in past continuous. But if you see here, you called me. This so-called you called me is actually in past simple. So this is what the beauty of the language here. You called me when I was driving. See, you called me when I was driving. So past simple is what we call here called, and past continuous is I was driving. So you called me when I was driving. You called me when I was driving. You called me when I was driving. So this is what the beauty of the language here. You can of course reverse the two parts of the sentence whereby which it becomes like this part also can come first. Then I was driving when you called me. I was driving when you called me. You called me when I was driving. Which means here this particular part of the sentence is in past continuous. You understand the logic here? I'll give you now one more example for your better understanding. See, the more number of examples we practice, the better we understand the concepts. Now, have a look at this beautiful example. It was raining. See, it was raining. See, it was raining when I started at home. So I want to go to office and I started at home, and by the time I started at home it was already raining. If you look at this part of the sentence, this is in past continuous. See, it was raining is in past continuous. When I started is in past simple. See, when I started is in past simple. See, that is the beauty here. It was raining when I started at home. It was raining when I started at home. That is how the beauty of the grammar is designed here. It was raining when I started at home. So like this, the more number of examples, the better we understand. However, now that I have given you ample examples, this time I'm going to give you a question. Keenly, carefully observe this. See, I asked my friend a question. What were you doing last year? What were you doing last year? What were you doing last year at this time? What were you doing last year at this time? If you see this question, what were you doing last year at this time is actually a question related to past continuous. Because if you see this particular part of the sentence, no doubt this is in past continuous. See, what were you doing last year at this time? For example, if someone has to answer this question, the answer would be like this. I was working in Mumbai. I was working in Mumbai last year at this time. You understand? So like this, we very commonly, we very often even practice beautiful questions and beautiful answers as well. I'll give you now, for your kind convenience, one more very interesting question. One more very interesting question. See, one more very interesting question. Where, see, where was John? Where was John? See, where was John working last month? Where was John working last month? It's a question, right? So the question is, where was John working last month? Where was John working last month? If you see this expression, where was John working? Where was John working? Where was John working last month? If you see this expression here, this part of the sentence and this part of the sentence purely in past continuous. Purely in past continuous. So now, where was John working last year? Where was John working last year is 100% in past continuous. Now, for example, to answer this question, the answer comes like this probably. He was working, see, he was working in Delhi last month. Which means at this point of time, you understand? The meaning of the sentence is, at this point of time, he was working in Delhi. It comes like that. At this point of time, he was working in Delhi. That is how it happens. That is how it comes. I hope the point is clear. So like this, let's have a look at another beautiful example. Let's have a look at another beautiful example. See, another example is where this time I'll give you a beautiful example where negativity comes. See, for example, negativity comes like Sita wasn't playing when I saw her. For example, someone said she was playing when I called her, but I said, no, you're wrong. She wasn't doing it. Who said she was playing? When I saw her, she was actually running. She wasn't playing. She was actually running. Probably she was actually walking. So this kind of sentences where we also call them negative sentences. So always remember, whenever we practice past continuous, it makes a sense. Now sometimes in exams I'll tell you how questions will come. I'll tell you how spotting the errors would very often come in the exams. See, a question comes like this. Comes like this. Tom sleep when I called him. A question comes like this. See, Tom sleep when I called him. A beautiful question that comes like this is, Tom sleep when I called him. Now the moment you see this question like Tom sleep when I called him, naturally it cannot be sleep, it must be slept. It cannot be sleep, it must be slept. So Tom slept when I called him should be the right answer. Tom slept when I called him should be the right answer. Tom slept when I called him should be the right answer. Hope you understand this. Hope you got the point clear. So I'll give you one more question now. Try to answer this question very carefully. I studied MBBS. I studied MBBS when I met you. So it is a wrong statement. There is no doubt about it, because we cannot use directly the simple past here and also simple past here. This can be simple past, but this cannot be simple past. So what happens here is I was studying comes. Yes, I was studying comes. I was studying MBBS when I met you. So, my dear friends, the whole point is simple. Past continuous is used to describe an action which was actually in progress in the past at a point of time. So, to describe that point of time, we have many choices. We can directly say last year, last month, yesterday morning 4 o'clock, yesterday evening 6 o'clock, or you also have an advantage way past continuous plus past simple can be used together. Past continuous plus past simple can be used together. So this is also something interesting. This is also something great. So if you look at this example, I was studying MBBS when I met you is a beautiful expression. So this is something about a beautiful and a very important tense called past continuous. I repeat, past continuous can be used directly or past continuous can be used indirectly. Directly is where you mention a time. Yesterday morning 5 o'clock, yesterday evening 6 o'clock, last month. However, if you want to combine past simple to that also, you can do that. So, this is something about a very important tense called past continuous. I hope everybody understood this important tense called past continuous. We will discuss another important tense in our next session. Wishing you good luck and all the best.